Station Echo 7 hung in the void like a forgotten wind chime, its weathered solar arrays catching the light of a distant sun. Most ships passed by without a second glance, their crews dismissing it as another relic of humanity's early space age. Commander Sarah Chen preferred it that way. She stood at the station's observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the quantum display that only she and her small crew knew existed, cleverly hidden behind panels that appeared corroded and useless. The display showed something that would have alarmed most station commanders, a pattern of subspace distortions that had been growing steadily over the past 6 months. But Sarah's expression remained calm, almost contemplative, as she analyzed the data streaming across the screen. Her fingers, calloused from years of maintaining the station's outdated systems, tapped quietly against the console. "Commander," Lieutenant Marcus Rivera's voice came through the station's internal comm system, its slight static carefully engineered to sound like system degradation. "We've got another patrol ship approaching. They're requesting our monthly status report." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Send them the usual, Marcus. Make sure to include those power fluctuations in Section 7. "The ones that don't exist?" Marcus asked, humor evident in his voice. "Those exact ones," Sarah confirmed, her attention still fixed on the quantum readings. The patrol ships always checked on Echo 7, more out of routine than concern. The station was considered little more than a navigational marker these days, a relic that the Stellar Defense Force kept operational out of tradition rather than strategic value. The truth was far more complex. 6 years ago, Sarah and her team had discovered something in the quantum background noise of space, patterns that shouldn't exist. While the rest of humanity raced to build bigger ships and more powerful weapons, Sarah had convinced the SDF to let her keep Echo 7 running with a skeleton crew, under the guise of maintaining an early warning system that everyone thought was obsolete. Dr. Emily Wong, the station's chief scientist, entered the observation deck, her tablet displaying the same quantum data Sarah was studying. "The resonance patterns are intensifying," Emily said without preamble. "Whatever's causing these distortions, they're getting bolder." Sarah nodded. "They think we're blind here." That's exactly what we wanted them to think. The station's apparent age was no accident. Every corroded panel and flickering light had been carefully designed to create an image of declining functionality. Even the station's power signature had been modified to appear weaker than it actually was. Behind these carefully crafted flaws, Echo 7 housed the most advanced quantum detection system ever created by human hands. "Latest patrol report is sent," Marcus announced, joining them on the deck. They'd barely glanced at it. Same response as always. "Continue monitoring. Maintain minimal operations." Emily snorted. "Minimal operations? If they knew what we were actually running here, they'd shut us down immediately," Sarah finished. "The quantum detection grid isn't exactly standard equipment, especially not the modifications we've made." The grid had been Emily's breakthrough, a way to detect disturbances in subspace that conventional sensors couldn't pick up. At first, they'd thought the anomalies were natural phenomena, but over time, a pattern emerged. Something or someone was probing human space, using technology far beyond current human capabilities. A soft chime from the quantum display drew their attention. Sarah leaned forward, studying the new data. "There," she pointed to a cluster of distortions. "They're getting closer to the colonies. Whatever they are, they're not just observing anymore. They're preparing for something." "The military won't believe us," Marcus said, voicing what they all knew. "We've tried sending reports before. They think we're chasing sensor ghosts." Sarah straightened, her expression hardening with determination. "Then we'll do what we've always done. We'll watch, we'll gather data, and we'll be ready. Because something's coming, and we might be the only ones who can see it." The station's old-style lighting flickered, a programmed imperfection that added to their carefully maintained facade. Through the observation window, another patrol ship was already turning away, its crew probably pitying the handful of personnel assigned to this backwater post. They didn't know that Echo 7's sensors were tracking movements in spaces between spaces, or that its computers were processing data that could change humanity's understanding of the universe. "Run a Level 3 diagnostic on the quantum grid," Sarah ordered. "Focus on the areas showing the highest distortion levels. Whatever's out there, they think they're invisible. That's going to be their mistake." As her small crew moved to comply, Sarah remained at the window, watching the stars. 6 years of being overlooked, of being the joke of the fleet, had prepared them for this moment. Something was hiding in the darkness between stars, thinking itself unseen, undetected. But Sarah and her crew had turned their station's perceived obsolescence into its greatest strength. Let them laugh at Echo 7. Let them dismiss it as a relic. Sometimes, Sarah knew, the best guard was the one nobody thought to watch for. And when whatever was causing those distortions finally showed itself, Echo 7 would be ready. Because sometimes the most dangerous weapon wasn't the newest or the shiniest. It was the one everyone had forgotten was there. The quantum display chimed again, another anomaly appearing on the screen. Sarah's fingers moved across the console, adding the new data to their growing collection. Around her, Echo 7 hummed with hidden power, its true capabilities concealed behind a carefully crafted mask of age and decay. They were the watchers no one watched, the guardians everyone forgot. And soon, they would prove just how dangerous being underestimated could be. The disappearance of the mining vessel Stellar Horizon should have caused more concern than it did. The ship had vanished near the Arcturus colony, leaving nothing but a debris field too small to account for a vessel of its size. Sarah Chen studied the report on her tablet, her jaw tightening as she noted the official explanation. Mechanical failure. "They're wrong," Emily Wong declared, bringing up the quantum readings from the time of the disappearance. The display in Echo 7's hidden command center showed massive subspace distortions around the vessel's last known location. "These patterns match exactly what we've been tracking. Whatever's been watching us made its first move." Sarah set down her tablet, turning to the larger display where Marcus had compiled data from the last 3 months. Similar quantum signatures appeared across different sectors, always brief, always dismissed by conventional sensors as background radiation or sensor malfunctions. But Echo 7's modified detection grid saw the truth, a pattern of deliberate observation and testing. "Another colonial transport vanished in the Denebola sector," Marcus reported, his voice grim. "Same pattern, minimal debris, no distress call. Fleet Command is blaming it on navigational errors." Sarah's fingers traced the path of the distortions on the display. "They're testing our response times. Each disappearance triggers a standard search and rescue protocol. They're learning our procedures, our capabilities." The station's hidden systems hummed around them, processing data at rates that would have shocked anyone who saw Echo 7's supposedly ancient exterior. Years of being overlooked had allowed them to modify and enhance the station far beyond its original specifications. Every dismissed maintenance request, every denied upgrade had been an opportunity to hide their true capabilities. A sudden alert drew their attention. Emily rushed to her console, her eyes widening. "Commander, we're picking up something different. The quantum signatures. They're changing." The main display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional map of nearby space. Dots of light represented known ships and stations, but between them, barely visible even to their enhanced sensors, something moved. Not the brief flickers they'd been tracking, but sustained patterns that suggested massive objects moving through subspace. "They're not just watching anymore," Sarah realized. "They're staging." As if confirming her words, a priority message flashed across their screens. A Stellar Defense Force battle group had encountered an unknown phenomenon, a section of space that seemed to swallow their sensor signals. The official report labeled it an astronomical anomaly. Sarah knew better. "Show me the quantum overlay," she ordered. The display changed, revealing what conventional sensors couldn't see: massive ships, their hulls somehow existing partially out of phase with normal space. The technology required for such an achievement was far beyond current human capabilities. "I'm detecting similar signatures near 3 other colonies," Marcus reported, his hands flying over his console. "They're positioning themselves throughout human space. Standard sensors can't see them at all." Sarah straightened, years of preparation crystallizing into certainty. "Send the alert package to Fleet Command. Full data, all our observations, everything we've gathered about their patterns." "They won't believe it," Emily said softly. "They'd never have before." "This time is different," Sarah replied. "This time we have proof that something is targeting our ships. Maybe they'll dismiss it again, but we have to try." The response came faster than expected. Fleet Command acknowledged receipt of their data and ordered them to cease transmission of unverified sensor anomalies that might cause unnecessary panic. The message ended with a reminder that Echo 7 was a monitoring station only, not a research facility. Sarah read the dismissal twice, then turned to her crew. "They're wrong, and they're going to learn it the hard way. But we're not going to let that happen without a fight." "Emily, how close are we to adapting the quantum detection grid into an active scanning system?" Emily's eyes lit up. "The modifications are ready. We've been running simulations for months. But Sarah, if we activate it, we won't be able to hide our capabilities anymore. The power signature alone will show that we've been doing far more than simple monitoring." "It doesn't matter now," Sarah decided. "Something's coming, and we need to know what we're facing." Marcus began continuous quantum scanning of all sectors showing distortion patterns. "Emily, start analyzing the data for any weaknesses in their cloaking technology. If they think they can hide in the spaces between spaces, we'll show them that humanity has eyes there too." As her crew moved to comply, Sarah watched the quantum display track more of the phase-shifted vessels, moving into position around human space. Years of being dismissed as obsolete had given them the freedom to develop defenses against a threat nobody else could see. Now that threat was revealing itself, and Echo 7 would prove that sometimes the most effective guardian was the one everyone had forgotten about. The station's hidden systems powered up, shedding their mask of antiquity. They had prepared for this moment, turning their isolation into strength, their perceived obsolescence into an advantage. Whatever these beings were, they had made a critical mistake in their calculations. They had forgotten to account for the Watchers who had learned to see between spaces, and soon they would learn just how dangerous that oversight could be. They came without warning. Across human space, massive ships materialized from seemingly empty void, their hulls shimmering with a strange iridescence that made them appear only partially real. The Stellar Defense Force's mighty fleets found themselves firing at enemies they could barely detect, their weapons passing through targets that appeared solid one moment and insubstantial the next. But in the command center of Station Echo 7, Sarah Chen and her crew saw everything. "Multiple dimensional shifts detected," Emily reported, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding on their quantum displays. "They're using some kind of phase technology to exist partially outside normal spacetime. That's why conventional sensors can't get a lock." Sarah watched as the invaders, the Vorex, as they called themselves in their first and only transmission to humanity, systematically began dismantling human defenses. Their technology was decades, perhaps centuries beyond anything humanity had encountered before. Ships of the Stellar Defense Force, pride of human military might, found their weapons useless against enemies that could simply shift out of phase with reality when attacked. "Colonial Defense Station 5 has gone dark," Marcus announced grimly. "Arcturus colony is reporting multiple ships in orbit. They're completely exposed." But Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Not completely. Show me the quantum resonance patterns of their phase-shifting technology." The main display changed, showing complex waveforms that represented the Vorex ship's dimensional manipulation. To normal sensors, the aliens appeared nearly invisible, but Echo 7's modified detection grid saw them clearly, and more importantly, saw exactly how their technology worked. They're using quantum field generators to create localized bubbles of altered spacetime, Emily explained, her fingers dancing across her console. It lets them exist slightly out of phase with normal space. Brilliant technology. Really. Nearly perfect. Nearly. Sarah asked, hearing the note of satisfaction in her chief scientist's voice. Emily's grin was fierce. They never considered that someone might be watching from the spaces between spaces. The quantum detection grid doesn't just see them. It sees the exact frequency patterns they use to shift phases. And any pattern can be disrupted. A priority alert flashed across their screens. The Stellar Defense Force's primary battle fleet had engaged a Vorex battle group near the Prometheus colony. The human ships were being systematically destroyed, their weapons unable to affect the phase-shifted alien vessels. Send the detection protocols to Fleet Command, Sarah ordered. Full encryption, priority channel. Seconds later, the response came. Echo 7, your transmission is rejected. All stations maintain radio silence except for emergency broadcasts. Sarah slammed her hand on the console. Damn their protocols. Marcus, prepare a tight beam transmission directly to Admiral Chen's flagship. Authentication code. Sierra Echo 7 Alpha. Marcus's eyes widened. Commander, that's your personal emergency code. Using it without official authorization will probably end my career, Sarah finished. But if we don't act now, there won't be much of a human space fleet left to court-martial me. Send it. The transmission went out, carrying with it 6 years of careful observation and analysis. Data streamed from Echo 7's hidden servers, quantum resonance patterns, phase shift frequencies, dimensional stability algorithms, everything they had learned about the Vorex's supposedly perfect cloaking technology. They're receiving, Marcus reported. Admiral Chen's flagship is. Wait. Multiple ships are acknowledging receipt. They're implementing the detection protocols. On their display, the battle near Prometheus colony shifted. Human ships began adjusting their sensors according to Echo 7's data. Suddenly, the Vorex vessels weren't invisible anymore. Their phase-shifting technology, designed to hide them from conventional detection methods, stood out like beacons to properly tuned quantum sensors. Echo Protocol Stage 1 complete, Emily announced. Moving to Stage 2, powering up the resonance generators. Hidden emitters across Echo 7's hull came to life, their carefully maintained disguise of decay falling away. The station's true power signature blazed forth as it began generating precisely tuned quantum fields, the culmination of years of secret research and development. What are you doing? Admiral Chen's voice crackled through their comm system. Echo 7, explain these energy readings. Saving lives, Admiral, Sarah replied calmly. Emily, demonstrate the Echo Protocol's full capabilities. Emily activated the station's resonance generators at full power. Waves of precisely tuned quantum energy pulsed outward, invisible to normal sensors, but devastating to the Vorex's phase-shifting technology. Near Prometheus colony, 3 alien ships suddenly snapped fully into normal space, their dimensional manipulation systems overloaded by Echo 7's quantum pulse. By all the stars, Admiral Chen breathed. How long have you had this capability? Sarah watched as human ships, now able to both see and hit their targets, began driving back the Vorex assault. Long enough to be ready when we needed it, Admiral. Echo 7 was never obsolete. We just needed everyone, including our enemies, to think it was. The battle continued to unfold across human space, but now the tide was turning. Echo 7's quantum pulses spread outward, disrupting the Vorex's phase-shifting ability sector by sector. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that could not only see through their perfect camouflage, but could strip it away entirely. Sarah stood at her command station, watching as humanity's obsolete warning post became the key to survival. Send the full Echo Protocol specifications to all defense stations, she ordered. It's time to show the Vorex the humans are far more dangerous than they appear, especially when they're underestimated. The war was far from over, but its nature had fundamentally changed. Humanity had lost its first battles, but thanks to a forgotten station and its dedicated crew, they now had a fighting chance. The Vorax would learn, as so many others had throughout human history, that apparent weakness could hide incredible strength. And Echo 7, the station everyone had laughed at, would lead the way. In the 2 weeks since the Vorax invasion began, humanity had learned to fight back. Echo 7's quantum detection technology had been rapidly replicated across the human fleet, transforming the one-sided slaughter into a real war. But Sarah Chen knew the Vorax were far from defeated. "They're adapting," Emily announced during the morning briefing. The quantum display showed new patterns in the alien phase-shifting technology. "They're trying to modify their dimensional frequencies to avoid our detection grid. They're not succeeding yet, but they're learning fast." Sarah studied the data, noting how the Vorax ships now changed their phase patterns frequently, trying to find blind spots in humanity's newfound sight. "They're not used to being seen," she observed. "Their entire strategy relied on perfect invisibility. Now they have to actually fight." Latest intelligence from the front lines, Marcus reported, bringing up battlefield data from across human space. The Vorax are withdrawing from direct confrontations, focusing on hit-and-run attacks against less defended targets. "They're also starting to jam our quantum communications." The strategic display painted a complex picture. While humanity's core worlds were now well defended with Echo protocol technology, the outer colonies remained vulnerable. The Vorax had shifted their tactics, probing for weaknesses in the growing detection grid. "Commander," Emily's voice carried an edge of excitement, "I think I've figured out why they're so obsessed with phase-shifting technology. Look at these biological readings we got from their damaged ships." The display shifted, showing complex molecular structures. "Their cellular structure is naturally phase-variant," Emily explained. "They exist partially out of phase with our reality, even at a biological level. Their technology isn't just a weapon or a defense, it's an extension of their natural state." Sarah leaned forward, understanding dawning. "That's why they attacked us. They saw our normal space existence as primitive, vulnerable. They never imagined we could learn to see and operate in their domain." A priority alert interrupted their discussion. "Multiple Vorax signatures detected approaching Echo 7, Marcus reported. "They finally figured out where the detection technology originated." Sarah straightened. They had prepared for this moment. "Initiate silent strike protocols. Emily, power up all resonance generators. Marcus, alert the defense fleet, but tell them to maintain distance. It's time to show the Vorax what this obsolete station can really do." Echo 7's hidden systems came fully online, dropping all pretense of age and decay. The station's quantum field generators, far more powerful than the versions shared with the fleet, hummed to life. Years of secret modifications and improvements were about to be tested. The Vorax attack force emerged from phase shift 2 million kilometers out, a substantial fleet of 15 ships. Their message was clear and demanding. "Surrender your quantum detection facility or be destroyed. Your primitive station cannot withstand our combined power." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Emily, demonstrate our response." Echo 7 pulsed with energy as its quantum generators activated at full power. The pulse was precisely calculated, designed not just to disrupt the Vorax's phase-shifting technology, but to interact with their unique biology. The alien ships suddenly found themselves forced fully into normal space, their crews experiencing total phase lock for the first time in their existence. "By the stars," Marcus whispered as their sensors showed the Vorax ships struggling, their crews clearly disoriented by the forced phase stability. "We didn't just blind them, we grounded them. Now they see the real purpose of Echo 7. Sarah said quietly, "We're not just an early warning station. We're a trap designed specifically for phase-shifted beings." The human defense fleet moved in, engaging the now vulnerable Vorax ships. Without their phase-shifting abilities, the aliens found themselves facing an enemy they had dismissed as primitive, but who had spent years preparing specifically for them. Quantum analysis coming in, Emily reported as the battle unfolded. The Vorex ships are showing signs of complete phase lock. Their crews can't even attempt to shift anymore. The effect is temporary, but now they know we can do it. Sarah finished. Send the battle data to Fleet Command. The Vorex aren't invincible. They're just used to fighting enemies who can't see them coming. As the defense fleet methodically disabled or destroyed the trapped Vorex ships, Sarah received a priority transmission from Admiral Chen. Echo 7. The Silent Strike Protocol exceeded all expectations, but the Vorex will retaliate with everything they have now. They can't afford to let this technology spread. Let them come, Sarah replied, watching her quantum displays track more Vorex fleets consolidating for a massive attack. Echo 7 was built for this moment. Sometimes the best weapon isn't the newest or the most advanced. It's the one that was patiently waiting for its time. The battle had transformed from a war of survival into something else, a fight to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology, but its ability to adapt, to turn apparent weakness into advantage. The Vorex had dismissed Echo 7 as primitive, just as they had dismissed all of humanity. That mistake was about to cost them everything. The Vorex came with their entire fleet. Over 300 ships dropped out of phase space around Echo 7, their hull configurations unlike anything seen in previous encounters. The message they broadcast was simple: surrender the station or watch your species burn. Sarah Chen stood at her command station, watching the massive alien fleet surrounding her home of 6 years. Echo 7's quantum displays showed the true extent of the Vorex force. Not just ships, but dimensional weapons designed to tear holes in the fabric of space-time itself. They've modified their phase-shifting technology, Emily reported, her voice tense as she analyzed the readings. They're not just shifting between phases anymore. They're trying to punch through to completely different dimensions. If they succeed, they'll bypass our defenses entirely, Sarah finished. They'll be able to attack any human world from dimensional spaces we can't even detect yet. The human defense fleet was mobilizing, but they wouldn't arrive in time. The Vorex had chosen their moment perfectly, catching Echo 7 during a patrol rotation when support was at its minimum. But Sarah had known this moment would come. She had prepared for it. Emily, show me the resonance cascade calculations again. Emily's hands trembled slightly as she brought up the simulator. It would work. The quantum generators, if overloaded in exactly the right sequence, would create a dimensional shockwave. It would collapse every phase space pocket within 50 light-years, forcing everything back into normal space permanently. And destroy the station in the process, Marcus added quietly, along with anyone still aboard. Sarah nodded. They had developed the resonance cascade protocol as a last resort, hoping they would never need it. Now, watching the Vorex fleet prepare dimensional weapons that could tear apart the very fabric of space, she knew the time had come. Begin evacuation procedures, she ordered. All non-essential personnel to the escape pods. Emily, Marcus, you too. Commander, Marcus started to protest, but Sarah cut him off. Someone has to stay to initiate the cascade. The timing has to be perfect, and the sequence has to be managed manually. I won't order anyone else to sacrifice themselves. You don't have to order us, Emily said firmly. We built this station's systems together. We'll end this together. A massive energy spike from the Vorex fleet interrupted them. They're powering up their dimensional weapons, Marcus reported. Multiple targets. Earth, Mars, the core colonies. They're going to hit everything at once. Sarah's decision crystallized. Begin resonance cascade startup. Emily, route all power to the quantum generators. Marcus, transmit our full technical database to Fleet Command. Everything we know about phase space technology. Everything we've learned about the Vorex. They'll need it to rebuild. The station's hidden heart began to beat faster as power diverted to its quantum core. Outside, the Vorex fleet noticed the energy buildup. Their attacks intensified, but Echo 7's reinforced shields, another modification hidden beneath its aged exterior, held firm. Quantum generators at critical levels, Emily announced. The cascade will trigger in 3 minutes. No way to stop it now. Sarah opened a channel to the approaching human fleet. Admiral Chen, get your ships clear. What we're about to do will disable any phase space technology within 50 light years. That includes our quantum communication systems and advanced drives. The fleet will be stranded. Understood, Commander Chen, the Admiral replied. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. The fleet is withdrawing to safe distance. The Vorex, sensing something was wrong, launched a final desperate assault. Their dimensional weapons tore at Echo 7's shields, creating ripples in the fabric of reality itself. But they were too late. The quantum generators had passed the point of no return. 1 minute to cascade, Marcus called out. Commander, it's been an honor. Sarah looked at her small crew, the people who had shared her vision, who had turned a forgotten station into humanity's salvation. The honor was mine. Now let's show the Vorex why you should never underestimate a human who's been planning something for 6 years. The quantum core reached critical mass. Energy began to spiral outward in patterns that defied normal physics. The Vorex fleet, realizing too late what was happening, tried to phase shift away. But Echo 7's final pulse caught them in mid-shift, amplified by their own dimensional technology. The cascade began. Waves of quantum energy exploded outward from the station, rippling through every layer of phase space. The Vorex ships, caught in the dimensional shockwave, were forcibly dragged back into normal space. Their phase-shifting technology overloaded, their biological ability to exist out of phase, with reality permanently disrupted. Echo 7's hull began to break apart as the cascade consumed it. But Sarah, standing with her crew at their posts until the end, felt only satisfaction. They had protected humanity not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through patience, ingenuity, and the willingness to be underestimated. The station's final moments were recorded by the human fleet's sensors, a brilliant flash of quantum energy that illuminated every dimension simultaneously, a pulse that sealed the boundaries between realities. When the light faded, the Vorex fleet hung motionless in space, their mighty phase-shifting technology reduced to scrap metal. Echo 7 was gone, but its legacy would live on. The forgotten station, the guardian everyone had laughed at, had become the savior of humanity. And in the years to come, when new stations were built and new threats emerged, people would remember. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the newest or the flashiest. Sometimes it's the quiet sentinel that watches, waits, and protects until the very end.